Hi, everybody. I'm Mike. This is a bunch of Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are listening to The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards and fire up your fingers. Time to join the conversation.
Hey, everybody. It is Friday, May 31st, 2019, and you are listening to The Right of the People. It doesn't matter how much research I do. It doesn't matter how carefully I weed through my topics and decide what to talk about. Inevitably, something's going to happen that just throws a wrench in my plans and forces me to talk about it. So, yeah. But before we get into this get this dumpster fire going, let's go ahead and welcome our illustrious and esteemed panel. We got David Bowling, the Kingpin himself. How you doing, sir?
Shall not be infringed. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. Always welcome. And as usual, the lovable yet irascible Squiblode. How you doing, sir?
And no technical difficulties yet, so that's a good thing.
Don't say that. You just jinxed the shit out of it. The whole time, my computer's probably going to explode now. Yeah. So out there in the chat here on the YouTube side, we got John Brown Productions. He was here first. We got Rich White, Vanessa Kitty, Johnny Sprague, Green Badger Outdoors, Jason Stewart, the Poor Conservative. Welcome, 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 everybody. No, I'm not ranting about Ohio State. The Poor Conservative says, I think a rant about Ohio State is coming. No, I have much worse garbage going on right now in the world. Unfortunately, I have to talk about a new mass shooting that just happened today in Virginia Beach. There's still news coming in. So, matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and screen share onto a press conference. So bear with me for a second.
Suspect is deceased.
Good.
While the scene is secure, we have a long-term investigative process that's being undertaken right now. There's a lot of work to be done. It's still an active scene. We are being assisted due to the size and scope and intensity of this scene. We're being assisted by the FBI Forensics Unit, DHS Forensics Unit, and the Virginia State Police Forensics Unit. Medical examiner also is en route, which is protocol for the medical examiner's office. Right now, we have a lot of questions. The whys, they will come later. Right now, we have more questions really than we have answers. We're a little more than 2 hours into this event. And we use the word event, that's a cop term, this devastating incident that happened that none of us want to be here talking about. This devastating incident which is going to change the lives of a number of families from our city. So my goal will be to update you and confirm additional information as soon as we can. Our next briefing should be at 21:30 hours. We have been told that the governor is en route to this scene. We've been notified by our state senators and by various and sundry other elected officials offering their condolences to our city and to our family of those of us who work in Virginia Beach.
So, what happened? In Virginia Beach, this is from heavy.com. Virginia Beach victims mass shooting at Municipal Center. Let me get this pulled up so I can read it. 11 victims died and 6 more are injured in a mass shooting that broke out at the Virginia Beach Municipal Center, Building 2, near the courthouse, Virginia Beach police have confirmed. The mayor, Bobby Dyer, says this is the most devastating day in the history of Virginia Beach. The people involved are our friends, co-workers, neighbors, colleagues. Police Chief James A. Cervera gave the casualty count and called it a devastating incident that happened that is going to change the lives of a number of families from our city. NBC 12 reported that there were mounting numbers of people injured. A police officer was shot, but was saved by his vest, the chief said. People stepped over wounded co-workers and hid for their lives, according to the station. It's believed there was a single shooter. According to NBC, there might be as many as 12 dead, although the authorities had not confirmed this, with the shooter a disgruntled, recently fired employee. Subsequent to this being written, it has been confirmed there are 11 victims, plus the shooter who have died. Shots were being fired in a public utilities area when a supervisor came in and said this isn't a drill, so they ran and hid on a roof, hearing muffled shots echoing outside. Journalist Jason Marks reported the suspect was dead and was a city worker who had recently been fired. Authorities had not yet confirmed that information, and subsequent to this being written, it has been confirmed that it is indeed a disgruntled former employee. Police have not yet released the names or conditions of the victims, nor have they officially released the exact numbers of wounded, which, again, they have. Apparently the shooter, this says he's in custody, but apparently he has been killed as well. This is one of those things that I really don't want to talk about. I mean, I don't think anybody other than the media ghouls, which, hey, since I'm talking about it, I guess I count. Media ghouls and the confiscation-loving politicians, because we all know that that they're going to dust off their playbook and go to that box labeled in case of shooting, break glass, and bust out their pre-written waiting legislation. It's exactly what flavor it'll be will depend entirely upon what kind of firearm the scumbag used. So, keep your eye open on this one. I didn't find out about this until about 5 minutes before we went live. So I don't really know any more than what I just read to you folks and what what we saw there on that little bit of screen sharing. So
I just finished watching the press conference with the sheriff, and all the information that you just gave out with the 11 official dead and the 6 official wounded. That's all current and updated information. So you pretty much got it all. Okay. The one thing I did want to comment out, you mentioned something about the dirtbags in the media are going to start covering it, and then you kind of put yourself in that ring. I disagree with your statement there, because the media has its purpose, and that's their job, is to report on stuff like this. And for you to come out and do a fair, honest, respectful report is what media is supposed to do. But then, like you said, when it goes into what firearm, what color skin did this person have, what sexual orientation did this person have, that's when the dirtbags in the media are going to start pulling their dirty tricks. But I support you reporting it 100% because of who you are and the way you do things.
Well, thank you, but it feels cheap to be talking about it before these before the crime scene is even cleaned up. I mean, I know it's one of those things you kind of have to do, but it's not something I want to do. Warsaw Patriot asks, was the shooter gang affiliated? I don't know. from all that I know is that he was and I'm even assuming the gender here, that it was a male, that the shooter was a disgruntled former employee who was recently fired. So, that's all that and that the son of a bitch is dead. Those are the only two things I really know about it. So we'll see how this pans out in the coming days. Let me go over to the gun channels and see if there's anyone listening over there. Let me refresh my feed. And no, it looks like I'm the only one in the room over there, but that's all right. I got you guys over here on the YouTubes, right? Speaking of gun channels,
I'll be over on gun channels as soon as I get home.
Speaking of gun channels, if you are not a member of gun channels, go check it out. It is the water cooler of the internet's Second Amendment community. You can find someone to talk with and something to talk about 24/7, 365. And it's free to join. So go over there and check it out. Anyhow, moving on with the other thing that wasn't on my agenda that I had to have to talk about today because it is news. Last week, I think it was last week, I said that this whole debacle with the NRA is the gift that keeps on giving. Well, it's starting to be more like the dumpster fire that refuses to be extinguished, because there are more developments in the NRA story. Ackerman McQueen has severed ties with the NRA and has filed a $100 million lawsuit against the NRA for basically making it impossible for them to meet the terms of their contractual obligations with them, basically forcing them to break the association. And so we'll see how those dueling lawsuits pan out. But in other news, this is from the Washington Post. Pete Brownell, who heads major supplier of firearms accessories, resigns from the NRA board. Those of you who have been paying attention, before Ollie North was president of the NRA, there was Pete Brownell, who presided over the organization for a year and then resigned as president. Perhaps he saw some of this coming and did not want to be anywhere near the head of the table when it came down. I don't know. But let's go ahead and go into the story. This is from again the Washington Post from May 30th at 9:09 p.m. Pete Brownell, a one-time president of the National Rifle Association, resigned from the board of the gun rights organization Thursday, citing the demands of his family business, Brownell's, a major supplier of firearm accessories. His departure comes as the NRA is engulfed in controversy and internal fighting over charges of improper spending by top officials, as well as ongoing congressional scrutiny into links to Russia during the 2016 election campaign. Brownell, who has served on the NRA board for nearly a decade, made no mention of those issues in a statement his company released Thursday afternoon. Given the hard work and full-time attention that will be needed as our brands continue to grow, I've decided to step down from my position on the NRA's board of directors, Brownell said in the statement. It's been an honor to serve the 5 million members of the NRA, and I will continue standing side by side with the millions of Americans who care deeply about defending the Second Amendment. An NRA spokesman referred questions to Brownell. Brownell's resignation comes amid a tumultuous period for the gun organization. The NRA has been beset by legal disputes, including an investigation into its charitable status by the New York State Attorney General and a separate inquiry by Senate Democrats into possible ties with Russia. A Gun Review blog wrote Thursday that Brownell's departure will be seen as a blow to the efforts to reform the operation from the inside and weather the current storms. John Feinblatt, president of Everytown for Gun Safety, a gun control group that works to reduce gun violence and has been tracking the evolving situation at the NRA. Boy, that sentence is a complete... Well, never mind. Said that he was not surprised by Brownell's decision. To see a former NRA president step down from the board is not surprising given the organization's ongoing turmoil, he said. What would be surprising is if this is the last resignation we see. I'm really find myself in the horrible position of agreeing with him there. I think I would be very surprised if this was the last resignation we see. Clover says Pete was accepting about $5,000 in reimbursement payments a year. May have something to do with it. Reimbursement for what? If you would care to expand on that, Clover. If not, that's fine. Let's see, where was I? At the close of the NRA's annual conference in late April, former Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North was ousted as president after highlighting what he described as a financial mismanagement crisis facing the organization. The NRA leadership accused North of trying to extort the organization's chief executive, Wayne LaPierre. 2 weeks ago, another board member, former U.S. Representative Alan B. West, called for LaPierre to step down. There is a cabal of cronyism operating within the NRA that exists within the board of directors, West wrote in a statement on his website. It must cease, and I do not care if I draw their angst. North had replaced Brownell as NRA president in 2017 after Brownell unexpectedly resigned from that post. At the time, Brownell said he was stepping aside to focus more on his Iowa-based business. His resignation as president occurred as congressional investigators were scrutinizing connections NRA executives had formed with Maria Butina, a Russian woman who later pleaded guilty in federal court in Washington to conspiring to act as an unregistered agent of Russia. Butina admitted that she worked for more than 2 years to forge relationships with conservative activists and leading Republicans in the United States. One of Butina's main targets was the NRA. Brownell and another former NRA president, David Keene, visited Russia in late 2015 and were hosted by Russian government officials and Butina. Senator Ron Wyden, the ranking Democrat on the Senate Finance Committee, has sought information from Keene and Brownell about any NRA ties to Russia. A spokesman for Wyden said Thursday that he is expecting responses from Brownell to written questions to conclude the investigation. So, what does all that mean? I don't know, but there it is. You know, it's ongoing. So it'll be curious as to how all of this pans out with the NRA. You know, I was considering going to the annual meeting in Nashville. I think it's Nashville next year.
Yeah, it's Nashville.
Yeah, I was thinking about going there, but, you know, part of me wonders if they'll even be there. They'll even have one. Clover says, I do not know the details, just numbers from a report. He's not the only board member taking any money, and certainly not the most either. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of that flowing around. It's a damn shame that it's happening, but I guess it's good that it's coming out, because now maybe something can be done. If nothing else, maybe somebody else can step up and fill the vacuum that the NRA might leave. I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope that the savable elements within the NRA can perform miracles and save it. Time will tell. What do you guys think? Kingpin?
Well, I like to be optimistic. I've never been a fan of the NRA as an organization myself, but I do like what you said there, that this is a key opportunity from the people in the NRA, whether it's the board members, whether it's the members, the John Q. Public members, or whatever it may be, to step up and say, we've had enough. You know, our organization's been tarnished, and we're going to clean out the people who messed it up, and we're going to fix it, and we're going to be back stronger than ever. If that doesn't happen, then I hope it burns and burns, and I hope everybody laughs while it burns. And I don't care about their training programs. I don't care about what they do for kids. The way to fix things is the people involved fix it. And if the people involved don't fix it, then it's going to burn, and it should. But I'd like to be optimistic and see that the people say, okay, we've had enough of this. We've got a great organization that's 100 years some odd old, and we're going to clean it up and get back on the top to where people can rely on us again.
Squib, you have a take on this?
if we're able to fix it, and there's different definitions of fix,
Sure.
it's going to be stronger than ever, which is probably what we need, the community needs. If we don't fix it, they're going to come after us even harder than they have before. And I know I sound like an NRA commercial when I say that, don't I? But they're going
No, you're not begging for money.
Yeah, that's the last thing I'm going to do, guys. Anyhow, so, all right, it's kind of like sharks smelling blood in the water, right? If it burns down, they're going to go, your strongest weapon in the fight is gone. And people can say, oh, this will happen, that'll happen, so and so. No, it's going to make us weak at a time we don't need to be weak. And if we fix it, not only do we need to find a reasonable way to fix it, we're going to have to monitor it forever so that we don't have to go fix it again. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it's either going to work out really good for us or really bad. I don't think there's going to be an in-between. I really don't.
I think you're right.
The closest thing to an in-between will be all of the wealthy fudge just bailing them out like they've always done, and they just do business as usual, which is one of those.
I don't see that happening.
Yeah, that's it's possible. Yeah, I'll give it a possible. I won't give it a probable. How's that?
Can you imagine the news story either direction? Like, I think you might have brought it up last time we talked about it, budget. But if the NRA burns to the ground, the anti-gunners are going to step on the ashes and say, look at what we did. We brought the strongest, biggest gun organization down to the ground. And that's a good news story. I don't like it, but it is going to be a news story. Imagine how powerful of a news story it could be if the people inside it fix it and then go out into the news and say, this is how you do it. We saw that there was rotten stuff going on. We weeded it out. And we're trying to make it right with our memberships again and our organizations again. That's another excellent news story that I'd love to be told. I'd love to hear that story told, for somebody to come out and say, bad things were happening and we got it fixed.
You know, here's the real and the scary. None, and I will say this again, none of the other gun rights organizations are big enough to step in and take the place of the NRA. That's just the world we live in. They are not large enough. Now, I'm not saying they can't be made large enough. I'm not saying that we shouldn't make them large enough. I think that they can and we should. But right now, today, there's nobody else who can do what the NRA does, even though they don't do it as well as they should. So I think that the best case scenario for gun owners, the best case scenario for the Second Amendment is for the NRA to clean its own house and get this stuff worked out, fix what's wrong, make themselves accountable to their membership, stop the corruption, stop the financial irregularity. Yeah, that's being charitable about it. And focus on their actual mission. You know, if they're gone, who's going to step up with that? Who else has 5 million members? Those of you who are out there saying, you know, you want the NRA to burn down. Well, I hear you, but if they burn right now, today, if the New York Attorney General says, okay, we're bringing suit, we're going to break you guys up because, and the courts agree and they rule that they're done today. So say it happens next week. Who's there? GOA ain't big enough. I'm sorry to tell you, they're not. Second Amendment Foundation, the legislative part of it isn't their bailiwick. It's not what they do. Now, I say this because I'm not crapping on these other organizations. Far from it. I'm a member of both the GOA and Second Amendment Foundation. But that's the thing. You know, just because I'm a member of the GOA, just because I'm a member of the SAF, doesn't mean that I don't want the NRA to step up and do the right damn thing and fix themselves. And you can't, you can't do that by saying a pox on both your houses and walking off. Armament Access says we need the NRA, but we need it to get their poop in a group. Yeah, I agree. They have to get their crap together in order for them to not be changed from without. And, a few weeks ago we talked about this. Change from within is always preferable to change from without, because change from within is true and lasting, and change from without usually carries some dire consequences. So, they need to fix this, or things are going to get really bad for us.
Maybe I don't know any better, but just the way my thinking works, and I made this analogy a couple of days ago. Kmart was the biggest thing Sears was the biggest thing countrywide. Kmart was the biggest thing countrywide. Walmart doesn't stand a chance. What's this? Kmart's got a lock on all this. Now you can't find Kmart. And the ones that you do find probably got a going out of business soon sign on there. And eventually, Walmart's the biggest guy on the block. It can't be touched. Nothing's ever going to... Walmart's forever. Nothing's forever. It's not going to last forever. So whether it's 30 years from now or 3 years from now or whenever, something will come along that's better than Walmart. And Walmart will start closing stores. So because the NRA does this and does that nobody else does, doesn't mean that somebody else can't.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
The NRA's got 5 million members. It's the same argument that people make about this YouTube. YouTube's where everybody's at. YouTube's the biggest thing in the world. Yeah, because how did it get that way? They didn't turn
MySpace.
Yeah, they didn't turn a switch on, and then 5 million people were instantly on YouTube. YouTube grew and gave people what they wanted, and that's how it got hundreds of millions of people, or however many people do YouTube. But just because that's the big thing doesn't mean that's the only thing that's ever going to be.
And I agree. I'm not saying that, the NRA is the end all be all, but I am saying that right now, short term, if they disappeared tomorrow, there's nobody who could step up and take their place.
And I agree to that. I totally understand your point, and I totally agree to that. If we're talking about short term, say the next 5, maybe even 10 years, then that's going to be a big problem not having an NRA. But somebody will, and that's what I think right now. Instead of waiting to see what happens when there's no more NRA, replace them now. Or not replace them, that's not the word I wanted to use, but build your organization now. Start training people now. Start doing things for kids now. Start doing legal stuff now.
Yeah.
Or just like you said, the NRA is going to go, and there's going to be a giant crater in the Second Amendment community that's going to be almost impossible to get filled anytime soon. But if you start working on it now, that crater might not be quite as big if they ever do dissolve.
Part of the problem is that these other organizations don't sit at the table. And what I mean by that is they're not there. They're not part of the process when these laws are being discussed. They don't have the lobbyists. They don't have the 5 million member number to throw around. They don't have the weight to be included at the table when these conversations are happening in the halls of government. The NRA does. And whether we like it or not, I firmly believe that things would be far worse for us had they not been sitting at the table when these things were made. Now, yes, they have let some things in there that are crap. I'm not saying that they're, the greatest things since sliced bread, because believe me, they're not. I'm not blind to that. But the fact is, I think that things would be far worse if they weren't there. So, you know, big picture, right now we need them. Right now we need them to get their shit together and fix themselves, because if they don't, it's a scary thing, because we don't have anybody that's at the table. Now, the solution to that is, of course, go out and make the other organizations strong. Go out and be an active part of these other organizations, and do what you can to make sure that they don't go down the same road of corruption that the NRA has, so that they don't get in the same spot. No, we do need to make these other organizations strong, but to stand back and salivate at the thought of the NRA dying right now, that is short-sighted and foolish, right? I believe.
Yeah, I wanted to chip in on that. I'm glad that you said that, because that's one of the things that really aggravates me the most, is when somebody has all these wonderful reasons to hate your idea, but don't want to give any ideas of their own. Burn the NRA to the ground, screw that place. Well, what's your idea for next? I don't know. Well, how about you shut up until you come up with an idea, and stop talking about burn down what's already there, because you've got no ideas on how to replace it. If you got some ideas, I'm trying to hear them.
Problem is, the way that things are set up within the NRA, it's so damn difficult to change anything. It's a tremendous uphill battle. As anyone who was paying attention to the stream from the NRA members meeting saw, with Pincus trying to get heard, and the old guard kept circling the wagons and trying to shut everything down. I mean, that's a case in point. Honestly, I think those people just have to die off and get some new blood on the board before anything can change.
Well, that's how you get change to happen, I think, with the least amount of resistance, pushback, damage, whatever you want to call it. When you force change upon a generation that's had it a certain way, born with it, brought up with it, indoctrinated into it, lived it, breathed it, and then halfway through their lifespan you go, no, you've got to flip like a switch because the younger generation wants this, or there's different mindsets out there that want this, and they want that change, and they want that change yesterday. You're going to get fighting, you're going to get pushback, nothing's going to happen, there's going to be a stalemate, and eventually somebody's going to lose and somebody's going to be angry. But if you let the changes happen gradually, and the older generation dies out and the newer generation gets their turn, and then the generation behind them gets their turn, then that's the way it's supposed to work. Unfortunately, in real life, that's not the way it always happens. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And it's kind of not fair, but life isn't fair either. I think that for another social media platform that is pro-2A to get successful, it's going to take time. For the other gun rights organizations to get bigger and expand out more and to be a bigger threat to these anti-gun politicians, it's gonna take time. And people want a quick fix. This isn't a quick fix. You've got to be in it, you've got to stay in it, you've got to stay committed. You were talking about getting their numbers up. Can I suggest a simple way that we can all help get gun rights organizations' numbers up?
Sure, go ahead.
Give away memberships as birthday presents. I've been doing it for years. Sometimes you're there like, what am I going to get this person? They've got everything, or they got more than me, or wait, I know. They won't renew their membership to the NRA. They won't get a GOA membership. They won't get a 2AF. They won't get an MCRGO or a, Ohio carry or Florida carry or AZCDL or whatever. Hey, I'll get them that. Some of these organizations are set up that allow you to give away a gift membership with something as simple as a person's name and home address or email, their name and their email. And then you really don't need a whole lot more than that. You don't have to get into all this privacy stuff where you got to know their social security number, driver's license, or any of that stuff. And then it just shows up weeks later on their doorstep, unless they screw up and send it to your address, which has happened before. Anyhow, it might sound stupid, but these are affordable, practical things that you can do. And if this person becomes a member of this and starts getting the emails and the newsletters and stuff like that and gets used to it, maybe one year you're not buying them a membership to the 2AF. They're buying their own, and now they're getting one for their wife and their kids or their co-worker or another friend that they've got or what, and it just sort of, it's really not that hard to do. But once again, this is another thing that takes time. If they've never heard of the Second Amendment Foundation, they're not going to know, but then they start getting this stuff in the mail or on their email, and they're going, what is this? Happy birthday, bro. And it'd be like, what? Oh, hey, this is kind of cool, And I know that's not a quick fix. It really isn't. It's another one of those gradual things, like taking somebody to the range. Unless you're going to take somebody new to the range every day and you're going to do 365 days a year, it's not a quick fix either. But they're trying to get us death by 1,000 paper cuts. Why can't we win by 1,000 paper cuts?
Well, I'm going to tell you something that makes this even harder. And there's going to be people that don't like it. Look out in the chat. Just look. Our worst enemy does not have a D behind their name. Our worst enemy does not sit in the House. Our worst enemy does not sit in the Senate. Our worst enemy doesn't take a check from Bloomberg. Our worst enemy isn't Bloomberg. Our worst enemy is us. Period. Look out in the chat about us bickering with each other as to whether or not we should even try to save the NRA. That's like that, if the NRA actually did its job and saved itself, got things going the way that they're supposed to, instead of burning to the ground, that can only be positive. So, this whole, we're our own worst enemies, and we always have been. That's why the gun grabbers have gotten as far as they have, because we as a community, the Second Amendment people, the pro-gun folks, we are fractured. We are contentious. We are concerned about our own little piece of it. We got the FUDs and the hunters. We got, the self-defense oriented people. We got the tactical people. We got the skeet shooters. We got the bullseye shooters. We got the IDPA people. We have all these little subgroups within our community, and they all don't give a shit about each other. We got people who love the GOA, and we got people who love the NRA. We got people who love the Second Amendment Foundation. There's very few people like me who dip into their goddamn pockets and support every freaking one of them, because I understand that we have to support all aspects of this fight instead of just trying to concentrate on one. And I know that my show prep here for this hour is completely gone, but whatever. I might as well just chuck out all that crap. If we continue to be fractured like we are, if we continue to fight with each other like we are, we're going to go down the road that New Zealand did. The first thing that I actually intended to talk about tonight was that there's a new gun control group. I mean, one freaking day in New Zealand, and already they're getting traction, and they're already calling for, guess what? More gun control in New Zealand, despite the raft of gun control that they already have. They said that is a good first step. Do you not think that that's what's waiting for us? If the gun grabbers succeed in parlaying this Virginia Beach shooting that just happened today into yet more gun control, if that's finally the thing that tips the balance, and they get, okay, now they'll get semi-automatic weapons. Okay. Do you not think that they'll want more? You're a freaking idiot if you don't think they'll want more.
Budget
a lot of what you just said about the whole, we're our own worst enemy. I did in a speaking squibbish that I never published. You said it. You said it a lot more briefly than I did, but it was along the lines of. There's some of it was verbatim, and this is one I did months and months ago. And the thing is, the people that are calling for us to unify, the way they're calling for us to unify, just divides us even more. So you got the kumbaya people. You got the not necessarily just that, but there's more to it. There's the kumbaya people that drive everybody away, and then there's the I got mine people that drive everybody away, right? And so if somebody's out there saying, that they're righteous and their way is the only way, or we got to get behind, we all got to get together, but we all got to get together my way, and it just keeps circling around and circling around. For right now,
that's it. I think Squib, I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir, but you just hit the problem. And I don't know if you realized it or not. I don't know if you intended to or not, but you hit what I see is the problem. We got to do it my way. Everybody wants to do it their way. You know what? How about this? And maybe I'm freaking crazy here. How about this? How about I'm going to do it my way, and you're going to do it your way, and I'm going to help you do it your way, and you're going to help me do it my way, and together we're going to get more done. How about that? How about we help each other instead of insist that we each do it each other's way?
Well, that's not a bad compromise. But see, I just used the word compromise, and you got the no compromise crowd either. I mean, there was the time that
hey, let me tell you something. Compromise is not a dirty word. Compromise is not a dirty word. I've said it before that all or nothing usually ends with nothing.
Yep. Well, there was a time where Patriot in the Dark kept talking about writing letters and sending emails, actually writing a physical letter, sticking an envelope with a stamp and everything. And I explained to him, dude, I did that back in the 90s. I did that back in the early 2000s. It did nothing. It seriously, I even got some replies that were snotty, okay? It did nothing. So I'm not doing that anymore. And he goes, well, that's that sort of attitude, blah, 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 blah. Now, he's my friend. I respect him, and he's a fellow Marine, so I have even more respect for him in that way, too. But I was like, all right, fine. So I made a video where I actually wrote two letters to I wrote one to Chris Cox and one to the Pittsburgh mayor. Real letters, right? I mean, I printed them, but I signed them. Sure. And I hand addressed the envelopes and stamped and mailed them. They did nothing, but I did it just to show them, hey, dude, okay, I can do some of the stuff that you think works that I've done before you were in this fight that didn't work. Because what he's saying isn't necessarily inaccurate. It's just my experience was so negative over the years that I just said, I'm not doing it this way. I'm going to find another way, my way. And I'm not going to twist somebody else's arm to do it their way. But you're saying, help me out with my way. I'll help you out with your way. I think if you find a way to do that where you're not telling me, stop doing what you're doing, just do my thing. Or, maybe, okay, so like my big thing is going to rallies, right? So you come with me to one rally, but say I go to 4 rallies in a year, and normally you don't go to rallies, but you came with me to one. I'm calling that helping me out. I'm calling that, we're working together. The fact that you didn't go to all 4 doesn't mean I'm going to blast you, because at least you went to 1, whereas normally you'd go to 0. Just like I wrote 2 letters, even though normally I'd write 0. So I think what you're saying has some merit. It's just as long as the people on our side understand that if you're not as devout as the person you're helping, or if the person you're asking to help you, you're asking them to do something that's outside of their comfort zone or outside of their realm of what they think is reasonable. If they're not as devout as you, don't get mad at them. Appreciate what they do, because we are all in the same fight together. Just like I think it's going to be a long time
what
before.
This reminds me of. First, before I go into that, though, I just want to thank Armament and Axis for the super chat. He says the MSN and inner arguing has got us here. Time to stick together. No more BS. I got to agree. Absolutely right, sir. What this reminds me of. Yeah, John, I know I need to take a deep breath. Okay. What this reminds me of is during the time period, it reminds me of the Protestant Reformation, frankly, when you had all these different branches of the Christian faith springing up, and the established Catholic Church didn't like it, but then again, the other branches of the faith didn't like each other. You know, well, if you're not a Methodist, you're shit. Oh yeah, well, if you're not a Lutheran, you're crazy. You might as well be a Satanist. You know, if you're not a Catholic, you're all demon lovers. You know what I mean? This is exactly what it reminds me of. If you don't adhere to my dogma, screw you. I'm going to run you through. You know, I think George Carlin put it. You know, it's do you believe in God? Yes. Do you believe in my God? Yes. Do you believe in my God my way? No. Kill you. You know, and the same thing is applying with our approach to fighting the whole gun control thing. Well, do you worship at the Church of the FUD? Yes. All right. Do you shoot long range rifles or shotguns? Shotguns. Oh no, we're gonna. Yeah, you're a damn heathen and we hate you. You know, it's the same damn thing that we're doing. We need to help each other.
I don't
get. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're a Lutheran or a Methodist or a Catholic or a Baptist or whatever. You're all worshiping the same God, folks. And right here, we're all trying to get to the same place, and we're all trying to fight the same fight. And we need to stop stabbing each other in the back and fighting with each other and just get it done.
Well, in the same regard that I said that, you know, I did something that somebody else wanted me to do, even though I didn't really believe in it anymore. And in the same regard that I said, you know, if somebody wants to help you, they're not going to be as devout as you to that particular method.
Sure.
Just appreciate them. I'm not going to lie and say I'm not part of the problem. I am. Because there are some of the things you want to do, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not crossing that line. I'm not doing it. I'm not. And so I'm not going to be a liar here, or whatever you want to call it, and say one thing and then do another. I'm going to tell you that, honestly, I am part of the problem too. And there are some things that some people want that I'm just not willing to do. The other option here is that we all get to a place where the fight is easier, but that takes a long time if we're all doing it our way. The problem is, once we get to that spot where the fight is easier, then we have complacency, and then we're right back to where we were, and then we're fighting again on how we get, and it just goes, it's cyclical.
And that's the other thing where we as gun owners are our own worst enemies. We've already talked about how we're fractured and we're kind of busy engaging in this intertribal warfare with each other, you know, over, you know, this gun rights org, that gun rights org, this shooting discipline versus that shooting discipline. You know, I don't give a damn about the bump stocks as long as I have my shotgun. Well, I don't care about your shotgun as long as I have my long range rifle. You know, I don't care about none of that as long as I have my pistols. You know, we're already fighting that label. Not label, I'm sorry, but we're already fighting that bit of difficulty with ourselves. I think our worst enemy in amongst ourselves is complacency. You know, Warsaw, I think it's Warsaw. Yeah, Warsaw Patriots out there in the chats basically screaming, we need a nationwide Pro 2A rally. Yeah, I agree, we do. It would be awesome to have people go to all 50 state capitals at the same time on the same day and rally and get together and show that we care enough about our Second Amendment to take a day off work and go make our voices heard. That would be awesome. That would be powerful. But I don't see people getting off their lazy asses and doing it. Unfortunately.
What about, okay.
Complacency is our biggest enemy.
Picture this. I agree. We do need a nationwide rallies. That would be fantastic. I'd love to be a part of something like that. And just hypothetically, we've got 50,000 people standing on the little circle out in front of the White House or in front of the State House or whatever, Lincoln Memorial, anywhere you want to put it. How many of those 50,000 people are going to go home the second day and stay involved?
Yeah. Yeah. Even if a percent of them stayed involved, that would be a net increase. That's the problem.
The first thing that, and people give me flack for this, but the reality is what it is. 50,000 people changing things is not, it doesn't exist. That's not a real thing. That never has happened and it never will happen. It never, anything, not the stoplight in the corner of your street, nothing. Everything is affected by you. Don't, you could, if you're out in the chat, you could say, screw what budget's going to do, screw what Clover's going to do, screw what Warsaw is going to do. I'm going to do this, no matter what they do. And then there is where change is affected. When you look inside your heart and say, this is what I will and I will not accept. This is what I will do and what I won't do. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. And find out who you are and what you want. Then you can start helping other people. But you guys brought it up already. I'm going to go into the NRA and they're going to do it my way. No, 500 million people aren't going to do it your way. But what you can do is you can talk to one person and say, here's my idea. And then talk to another person and say, here's my idea. And then maybe have 10 or 15 people standing there you can talk to. And when you got those 10 or 15 people standing there, 2 or 3 of them are going to listen to what you say, and they're going to carry it on throughout the rest of their week, the rest of the month, the rest of the year, maybe. But being worried that 50,000 people, 100,000 people, 2 people, if I'm sitting here waiting for you, budget, to make a move, I'm going to sit here and die probably. And that's not against you. I just used you because you know, you're just, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I know.
But you have to make it determined in your heart and in your mind what you want and what you're going to do, and then move forward. But sitting back, going to that rally and sitting back and taking a picture of 100,000 people at the Lincoln Memorial, that's great. How many of those 100,000 people are going to put it in their heart to, this is what I'm going to work on. This is what I care about. That's depressing, because when you say, okay, everybody meet back here tomorrow, and there's only 70,000 people. We're going to meet here next weekend, and there's only 20,000 people. You know,
Even so, that would be wonderful. Clovertack has a question. He says, who here is trying to make GRPC in Phoenix, all the players in one place? Unfortunately, I can't. I really, really wanted to, but I just can't make it happen this year. Mad Sexy says, what is GRPC? GRPC is the Gun Rights Policy Conference. It is exactly what it says. It is a policy conference put on by the Second Amendment Foundation. It is free to go to. All you got to do is get there and pay for your lodging. It's a bunch of seminars where everybody in the gun rights movement gets together to strategize and plan what's going on for that year. They talk about it and educate each other and whatnot. You end up getting about $250, $300 worth of books and stuff free. And it's apparently a great event if you are in, you know, it's a wonderful event to go to if you are part of this, this movement. I wanted to go last year, couldn't go. Well, this year. And well, actually, I wanted to go last year, couldn't. Wanted to go this year, couldn't. So just sucks. I wish I could make it out to Phoenix, but it's not going to be in the cards for me. But those of you who are able, I heartily encourage it. I think that the next time it's anywhere within a couple states of me, I'm going to make sure I get there. So I'm going to have to check and find out where it is next. So, all right. Enough of this. Really only 4 minutes left in the show. We're going to go over a little bit because I just gotta do Roll Call's favorite segment, the self-defense shoutouts. For those of you who are new to the show or have never stuck around to the end, self-defense shoutouts are not where I'm reveling in the death or the injury of the bad guy. It is, in fact, where I'm reveling in the fact that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity to prevent the bad guy from killing or injuring them. First up, Kaufman County homeowner shoots, kills intruder. from CBSDFW.com by Jack Fink from May 23rd, 2019. Forney, Texas. Yeah, John, I know it's in Phoenix this year. I'm talking next. Forney, Texas. A Kaufman County woman shot and killed a man who broke into her home in an unincorporated area along FM 2757 Thursday morning. Authorities said it was self-defense. The Kaufman County Sheriff's Department said the homeowner reported waking up to a man banging on her front door. She didn't recognize him and didn't open the door. Authorities said the homeowner then heard him trying to get into a back door, and she locked herself in a closet in a back room. She called 911 and was still on the call when he confronted her. Authorities said the woman shot the intruder, and when deputies arrived, they pronounced him dead. The Sheriff's Department has not identified the intruder. Charges are unlikely, as the Kaufman County Sheriff's Department says the homeowner was defending herself in her own home. The Texas Rangers are assisting with the investigation. I'm shaking right now, said neighbor Amanda Baber. I seriously still can't believe that this happened. And I heard this morning the helicopters roaring around, and I thought it was a little bit weird. But the fact that you told me it happened so close to here, I mean, it's kind of crazy. It feels so country, and it's pretty much the reason we moved here. Baber said she's glad the homeowner was able to react the way she did in such a terrifying situation. Praise God that she had the means to protect herself and that she had the strength to do it. Because in situations like that, you can get pretty fearful and tend to clam up and not know what to do. Next up, Austin man found shot dead in vehicle in Hayes County. Apparently, you do not want to go being a knucklehead in Texas. By Elizabeth Evans, Fox 7 Austin, posted May 25th. Uhland? U-H-L-A-N-D. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that pronunciation, Texans. Please don't come after me. From Fox 7 Austin. An Austin man was found inside a vehicle shot and appeared to be covered in blood by police Saturday morning. Hayes County Sheriff's deputies responded to a call of a suspicious vehicle in the area of Grist Mill Road and South Plum Creek in Uhland. That's what I'm going to say it, and I'll probably butcher it, but I don't care. In Uhland, around 10:45 a.m. on May 25th, a single occupant of the vehicle appeared to be covered in blood. Deputies determined the man, later identified as 35-year-old Matthew Aaron Kellis of Austin, had suffered gunshot wounds. Kellis was transported to a local area hospital, where he was pronounced dead. According to HCSO, a woman called shortly after the suspicious vehicle call and reported that a man had attempted to break into her home, and she shot him. The home is located within close proximity of the car where Kellis was located. The investigation is ongoing, and no further information was available. This is one that I was planning to screen share. I don't know if I... Clerk loses job after pulling gun on hatchet-wielding robbery suspect. This is by AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News. So I will try to get this pulled up because I'd like to screen share this. It's kind of funny to watch. A Clackamas County, Oregon robbery suspect armed with a hatchet fled a convenience store when the clerk behind the counter pulled a gun in self-defense. KOIN TV reports that the incident occurred April 28, 2019, so it's a little old, and the Clackamas County Sheriff just released the surveillance. The video shows the suspect enter the plaid pantry around 1 a.m. He then allegedly pulled a hatchet from his pants, and the clerk responded by pulling a gun. Let's see if I can find it.
Is that a hatchet in your pants, or are you just...
Is that a hatchet in your pants, or are you happy to see me, right?
Is that a hatchet in your pants, or are you just here to rob my convenience store?
Let me go ahead and screen share Rooney this. There's apparently no sound. See, that right there is what you call a pre-incident indicator. This guy moving around, milling around like that. And there he goes. Put his hatchet on the counter. Says, I'll see your hatchet and raise you a 9mm.
Why they let him in the store while he still got the mask on his face, I don't know.
Take care, you can have it.
Don't bring a hatchet to a gunfight?
Please, please, please let me go.
Where's
Please
Nurse
don't
Hatchet?
call the police. Please. See ya. Dumbass.
See, now who's the bigger dummy? The guy right there with the stupid mask on, or the guy that owns the place that fired the dude for protecting himself?
And that's it. I really don't know which is the bigger jackass. The guy with the mask, the robber, or the store owner that fired the clerk because he protected himself.
And here's the thing. The robber gets arrested, right?
No, he's not arrested. I think he's still loose.
No, he got away.
All right. See, because if it leads to an arrest, I understand it's just a temporary situation because he could get released, he could escape, or he might only be in jail like a year and then he's back out. But for every one of them that you potentially take off the street, that's not somebody who's going to go, that was too easy, I'll be back there next week. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I totally understand the store owner's point of these Snickers bars and that, $200 in the register isn't worth it. Just give it to the bad guy. And the
problem is, a lot of times when you give it to them, they still shoot your ass or chop at you with a hatchet.
Yes.
That's exactly the point that I was going to make is, yeah, your Snickers bar can be replaced, but the giant hatchet mark in my forehead, that's going to be there for a while.
Exactly.
If I'm not dead.
You should never allow yourself to be at the mercy of those who have none. Period. And last but certainly not least, concealed carry holder shoots gunman in head in Chicago, police say. May 27th, 2019, Chicago Sun-Times. A concealed carry holder shot and critically wounded someone who approached him with a gun Monday in Little Village on the southwest side. He was walking into an apartment alley about 4:15 p.m. when a man approached him in the 2500 block of South California Avenue and took out a handgun, Chicago police said. The man, 25, took out his own gun and shot the 20-year-old in his head, police said. He was taken to Mount Sinai Hospital in critical condition. The older man was uninjured and showed officers a valid firearms ownership card and concealed carry license, police said. Area Central detectives are investigating. And the plot thickens because Gunsnob told me prior to airing that he met this gentleman at the training he was at this past weekend. Talked to him several times, says he's a nice guy. So it is a very small world. And there you go. 4 people. 1, 2, 3, 4 people who are alive today and uninjured because they had the means, method, and opportunity to defend themselves and the will to do so as well. Despite what NPR and the homophobes and liberals will have you believe, this stuff happens every day. Every day. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. Squibs, are there any words of wisdom you would like to leave us with, sir?
Come back to me. I got food in my mouth.
Oh, my bad. Kingpin, anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, check out gunchannels.com for sure. And don't poo-poo on somebody's idea if you don't have one to replace it with. Now, your idea might not be any good either, but at least you have one you can bring to the table instead of just thrashing somebody else's ideas.
Squib,
Yeah.
are you ready to speak? I almost asked if you'd swallowed yet, but decided not to.
I don't have to chew. I'll just wolf down this spaghetti like it's nothing. Yeah. Thanks. Something I've got in a video coming up. I'll paraphrase myself. There's a thing in there about you may not like what I say and do, but I don't mean any harm to you. I may not like what you say and do, but you don't mean any harm to anybody. If we can put our differences aside and say, there are always going to be things that we don't agree on, and I'm not willing to be your enemy over these things. Even if we don't go to the same rally, or, you know, I go to rallies and you write letters, or even if, you know, you do 5 videos a week and I do 1, or the other way around, or I'm in the NRA and you're not, or whatever it is. Understand this. I can get along with pretty much anybody if they can get along with me. With a simple understanding like that, we can have some communication in our community. And when we don't agree, we don't necessarily have to go to war over it. And when we do agree, let's collaborate and let's make a difference.
That's right. Once again, as I always do, I want to thank everybody out there in the chat for stopping by. You know, agree, disagree. You know, we're all working towards the same goals, folks, and we need to remember that. We need to stop. And those who know me know that I'm not a kumbaya kind of guy. So that's not where I'm coming from. But we need to stop fighting against each other. We need to stop working against each other. We all need to start pulling in the same direction so that we can. I was going to say so that we can win this fight, but this fight, you know, Squib and I were talking before the show that this fight isn't actually going to be won. It's not something that we're going to finally get to the end and go, phew, we can rest. It's not ever going to happen. We all have to keep pulling in the same direction, and we all have to keep fighting in the same team and start using at least somewhat the same playbooks so that we don't lose this fight. Because if we continue being fractured, that's what's going to happen. We will be the next New Zealand. Or worse. Make sure that you contact your Congress critters and elected representatives. Let them know what you think. They should know your name and dread hearing it spoken. They should dread seeing it on their caller ID. They should know what your voice sounds like on their answer machines. So send a snail mail, email, telephone telegraph, smoke signals, carrier pigeon, bicycle messengers, semaphore, heliograph, anything that you can do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight. See you guys on the next one.